In these set of videos, we are trying to understand what is the angle of elevation, what is the angle of depression, and how can we apply special triangles to answer these application problems, correct? So whenever you read a problem, the angle whichever you read, try to make that special triangle so that you know how to correlate the situation with the special triangle and then get the answer. It will be easier for you, okay? And first and foremost, whenever you read a word problem, then try to sketch it or visualize it. Now here it is, question 4, which says, from a plane at an altitude of 1200 meters, the pilot observes the angle of depression of a lake to be 30 degrees. How far is the lake from the pilot at that instance of time? So think like this, that we have a plane here, correct? This is the plane, okay, and from this plane, pilot makes an observation and, well, so let me draw a dotted line here because it is angle of depression. So angle of depression means you have to measure it from the horizontal. And let's say the pilot visualizes something at an angle of 30 degrees, right? So 30 degrees is basically this angle. So that is 30 degrees, correct? That is angle of depression, angle with the sight and horizontal line, correct? Now, so the plane is at an altitude of 1200 meters. That means from the ground, let's say the height of the plane from the ground, let's say this is the ground level, right? So in that case, from the ground, the height of the plane is 1200 meters. So this height is 1200. And that is, of course, a right angle, right? Now, if this angle is 30 degrees, then that angle, which is elevation angle from that side, is also 30 degrees, right? It is very important to note that always these two lines are horizontal, right? So they are parallel. And that transverse line will have interior alternate angles as equal. So those are 30 degrees. Now, how far is the lake from the pilot at that instance of time? So a mistake which I have seen which has been done many times is students will give you this length, how far the plane is from the lake. So that is our lake, let's call it L. But actually it is this distance. From the pilot to the lake is this distance. Let's say D is our distance, and that is this distance, correct? Now, you know, if you see from 30 degrees, 1200 is opposite to 30 degrees, correct? And that's the hypotenuse of this triangle. Since we are dealing with something which is opposite and hypotenuse, then the only trigonometric ratio that relates is sine, and therefore we will use sine of 30 degrees to figure out the answer. We say, well, sine of 30 degrees is equal to opposite side over hypotenuse, which is 1200 divided by 30, which we don't know, d, right? Distance, d. So we say sine of 30 degrees is equal to 1200 meters divided by d. So we'll get answer in meters. Now what is sine of 30 degrees? For that, let's make a standard triangle, right? That special triangle with 60 degree and 30 degrees is here. And we know how it is related. This side is twice this side, and the altitude here is square root 3. 30 degrees, oh, I made it kind of, it doesn't look like 30 degrees. Well, 30 degrees is supposed to be here, and that is supposed to be 60 degrees. Let me write down, it doesn't really look like that, but that's how it is, 30 degrees. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So sine of 30 will be 1 over 2. So we get 1 over 2 is equal to 1200 over d. And we'll now cross multiply to find the distance between the pilot and the lake. So d is equals to 2 times 1200, right? So we can say 1200 times 2, which is 2400 meters is the unit, right? And therefore we can write down the answer as how far is the lake from the pilot at that instance. We say, well, the lake is 2400 meter or 2.4 kilometer from the pilot. Correct? So that is your answer.